Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA front office show. It's Thursday. You know what that means?
No, I don't yell on Thursdays. That's only on Fridays. We don't yell on Thursdays. We don't yell on other days of the week.
Keith, I did not think of it until just now as I was doing the intro. I went, oh crap, this is a live show. Do we yell? What do we do? It's a Thursday. I don't know. I don't know what to do with my hands.
No, we don't yell on no yelling on Thursdays. That's Fridays only.
Oh man.
You want to yell? Be here tomorrow. You'll get it then.
Tomorrow we'll do our live front office show with the yell included. We've got plenty of stuff to talk about today. Just a peek behind the curtain. Keith and I both had some stuff going on today. We weren't able to record our normal show when we wanted to, and when the Kawhi stuff came out, we said, you know what? At the very least, we should do a live show just to kind of talk about everything, which requires a little bit less heavy lifting on the back end for us. So that gives a little more time with family and stuff to just do this show live and rock it out. So let's go. Keith, let's just get right into it. Kawhi Leonard out to start the season. I believe the word used was indefinite.
Yeah.
As they're waiting for issues with knee swelling to subside. This is not good. This is not good for the Clippers as a whole. This is not good for Kawhi. It kind of felt like this is where it was going to go when Ty Lue was making comments the other day about how the starting lineup from their last preseason game was probably going to be the starting lineup to start the season. But that word indefinite, and given Kawhi's history, Keith, I am now really not liking the sound of this in terms of what this season might look like for Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I think the terminology I used the other day when we were talking about Kawhi was he's like permanently questionable. Like that's just how I it. Like I think if you're the Clippers, this is not where you want to be with a guy who's making $50+ million. But you have to, whatever we get out of him, great, then we go. I have to imagine not today, not even tomorrow, but there's got to be at least some kind of long-term conversation happening about, do we see if somebody who can afford to gamble will trade for him? Like, is that a option? Is there a team out there? We mentioned in the past, no reporting. It was just completely like rampant speculation. Like, could KC, get him, because they wouldn't be reliant. If they could get 50 games out of them, and then playoffs, they'd be like, great, let's go. We're deep and good enough to pull that off. So this is tough, man. This is really difficult. We've said it a million times. The Western Conference, like 5 through 12 or 13, if you believe in the Spurs, is just a bloodbath. Like you're gonna have to really work very hard to get into even the play-in tournament. Never mind the postseason. Yeah, Ray, let's go. Like Spike live show. Hit that like button for us. We would appreciate that. And subscribe. If we get 35K, we'll dress like morons on Halloween 2 weeks.
That's right. Let's go.
Yeah, I might even keep it on and wear it on the Friday live show after Halloween. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe I'll go all out and be a moron 2 days in a row. You never know. So,
that's setting the bar high.
Back to Kawhi. I will say this. I watched NBA Today. Shams, you have this tweet up here. He did give an update there that the Clippers they're not looking at this as necessarily a bad thing, because they feel like they have found a way to manage him through this. Now, they feel like, all right, we've got something we can do to kind of get him through this season. But managing him through the season is not the same as, yeah, we're going to get this right, and then he's good to go. That is a completely different thing. That is, he'll play a week, and then he maybe misses a couple games, and all the stuff we've gotten kind of used to at this point.
That's also what they've thought for years now, though.
Yeah,
hey,
I don't know,
we're going to load manage the hell out of him 1 year. Oh, wait, that didn't work. He still got hurt. Okay, we're not going to load manage the hell out of him. And he looked really good last year, but he still got hurt. I'll believe, I guess I'll put it this way. I'll believe it when I see it. I'll believe if this works, whatever their plan is, whatever it is now, I don't know what it is, but whatever their plan is, maybe it's to somehow, trigger his mutant gene a la Deadpool and make it so he can heal anything. And then we'll get like a disfigured Kawhi, but he no longer gets injured by anything at all. But regardless of what it is, I'll believe it when Kawhi's healthy for the playoffs for the Clippers. Until then, just the history has told us that whatever it's been, it has not worked.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I feel like, without being silly about it, they've tried every imaginable thing that you can try at this point. They've tried, like you said, the heavy load management.
Yeah.
I continually go back to with Kawhi Leonard before he got traded to the Raptors. The Spurs talked about, this is not an injury, this is a condition. And they said this will need to be managed for the remainder of his career. So, not that San Antonio like pulled a shady one or got out of this, before, things went really bad or anything
Everybody
like
knew.
that. It was out there. Now, Toronto hit lightning in a bottle at this point, managed him through that season, won a championship. The Clippers have not been able to pull that off. Couldn't pull it off with Kawhi, couldn't pull it off with Paul George. And now we're at a spot where still a good Clippers team. I'm not going to suggest they're terrible or anything. But yeah, and since we did mess this up once on a previous show, Clippers have no incentive to tank this year because they don't own their pick. It goes to Oklahoma City. There's a weird sequence of events where the Clippers could keep it if they finish ahead of Houston, but Houston isn't terrible, and there's all this weird stuff. But they're mostly, you can't count on any of that. So they can't, at the very least, they can't be like, well, Cooper Flag sounds good, let's bottom it out today. Starting this week, we're going to be terrible because it's just going to be something they're going to have to work around. So,
Keith, could you imagine if the Clippers are terrible this year without Kawhi and OKC gets that pick?
Somewhere Sam Presti's in Oklahoma City doing excellent.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like, he's just got to be sitting there, dreaming of a horrendous Clippers season. So yeah, you've pulled up the real GM. It's we're, especially for anybody who listens to this podcast version. We're not going to read through this.
That's so hard to decipher what the hell that says.
just know the Clippers can't tank. Because if they end up with one of the best picks in the draft, OKC gets it. Like, that's the extent of it. So they're going to play hard, all the way through. Now, at some point, if you get to like the middle of March and it's like, all right, this thing, you're not going to be running guys out there and injured guys. You may just say, it is what it is. We can't cry over spilled milk, but at least to start the year, they're going to be going. So yeah, tough. And
so now are you had the Clippers falling out of the playoffs in the Western Conference. I'm assuming you are now even more steadfast in that belief now that this news has come out.
Yeah, I am. And we're going to do, just so everybody wondering, we'll do our prediction show on Monday. We're going to go through, we'll do our standings and playoff predictions and some of the major awards and all that. It'll be a longer show, but we're going to get into all that stuff because somebody did ask, like, you guys haven't done any predictions. When are you going to tell us? Well, we're going to do it Monday. We're going to take all the time we can, get all the information, and then we'll do our picks. But yeah, I have a hard time seeing them cracking the top 8. I have a hard time seeing them even making the top 10 and being a playing team. In reality, right? If I think most people, some form or fashion, are going to have some version of OKC, Minnesota, Dallas, and Denver as their top 4.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Then you have Memphis, Phoenix, the Lakers, the Kings, the Warriors, the Pelicans, the Rockets, maybe the Spurs, and then you have the Clippers. Like, you can't not be good and just sneak in. This is not the East, where 1 through 8, I think the East and West are comparable and very on par, but 9 and 10 is where it all falls apart. Like 9 through the bottom. Like the East, I've been saying it for months now. Part of the reason I am high in quotation points on the Hornets is because they may make the play-in tournament. But that's because somebody has to be the 9th and 10th seeds in the Eastern Conference play-in tournament. In the West, you could be a great team, not a great's too far, but a good team, make the play-in tournament, get bounced, and be a lottery team. And that just might be how it goes. Like, it's just, that the conference is deep. It's only really Portland and Utah who are like, not so good. So,
right.
Can I address one more thing on Kawhi before we move
Absolutely.
on? It's really driving me nuts. And I know some people are doing it just to get jokes off. Kawhi did not steal money from the Clippers.
Hmm.
He's not lazy. He doesn't not want to play.
Right.
Yeah, so there it is. Like, all right, fine, he's hurt a lot. That's a fair criticism. But like he wants to play. There are very, very few NBA players who like sitting out and are just content to just take the money and kind of not run,
And
I
just
guess.
chill.
Like Kawhi wants to play. He wants to be on the floor. So does Paul George. So does Joel Embiid. So does insert any injured player here. I mean,
Sure.
for years it was Grant Hill. This was a criticism that people layered on them. Where you should be upset is point to the teams. The teams are the ones who sign these guys with often lengthy or, if not lengthy, serious injury histories and just assume we'll get it right. And then they don't. And it's just, that's the way it goes. That's the, that was the thing Celtics fans, when the Hornets poured a ton of money into Gordon Hayward, it's like, good luck. Like, I don't think he's ever going to play more than 60 games in a season for you. And I don't know that he ever hit that marker. And now he's retired only 4 years later. So it just, it really bothers me when people are really hammering on these guys saying they're lazy. They don't want to play. They want to be load managed. That's not true more often than not. And I can tell you guys, Trevor and I have been there and heard players, when they find out they're not playing in a game, absolutely lose their minds on the coaching staff or the medical staff because they want to play. The vast majority of guys do not want to sit games out. It is like pulling teeth to get some of them. You hear it with a handful of guys every year. We almost have to hide their sneakers in their uniform to keep them from, running out on the court. So it's just, that just, bums me out where people just, really hammer on this stuff.
I think that part of the Kawhi thing too, it's you've got Lakers fans chiming in too, because they're mad that Anthony Davis got the street clothes nickname when he's played more than Kawhi, and they feel like that's not fair. And so then they're jumping on and saying, well, this isn't right, and all that kind of stuff. But you're right.
Sure.
The bottom line, none of these guys should get, for as much as we like put that on people, like they're sitting out just because they want to kick their feet up by the pool. That's an extremely rare thing. Most of these guys are dying to get out there and play. Like they want to be on the court. They don't want to be sitting on the sideline. By no means is that what they want to do. They've spent their lives playing basketball. They don't want to sit there and have to watch the rest of the guys on their team play and not be able to get out there and compete. So yeah, you're absolutely right. Kawhi, it's not like Kawhi hid his medical situation from the Clippers, signed the contract, and then it said, "Ha ha, suckers, gotcha."
Yeah,
that's not that's not the way this went down.
20 games a year. Yeah, I would also look at Lonzo Ball, everything he went through. Which, what a cool moment last night.
That was amazing.
It's a corner three on his first possession in the game. That part was awesome. But then had a couple nice drives. He had a nice block. He actually looked pretty good. Like he
dove into the stands.
Yeah,
I was holding my breath. I'm like, oh my gosh,
we don't need to do that. You don't even need to do that in a regular season.
No,
like never mind a preseason game. But and then you could see how emotional he was after, like in a good way. Of like it was great. I think his quote was, "It was so great to be out there and not just watching." Just, super cool. And that's where the vast majority of these guys are. I'm not going to say there's a handful of guys who would just as soon sit and collect a check and not play, but the vast majority of these guys want to get out there. Some guys are injury prone. That's just the way it goes.
All right, let's get over to Isaiah Hartenstein, who is now out for 5 to 6 weeks. That's with I believe it's a hand fracture. Yeah, it was a non-displaced fracture.
Left hand, though, and he is a lefty.
So, look, this is not good. It could be, unfortunately, though, for the Thunder, we know they can get by without him, but obviously he will miss the start of the season here. Not the way that you want to start, but could be worse than, 5 to 6 weeks for Isaiah Hartenstein. But still, I was really looking forward to see how Hartenstein was going to fit in with this OKC team. And it's unfortunate that we're not going to get to see that.
Yeah, here's your immediate challenge, right? Yeah, with the way teams treat injuries now, they really are. It is or injuries preseason rather. Injuries on the brain. the way they treat preseason is turns into the first month of the regular season, almost an extended preseason, not from a get in shape kind of thing, but it's just coaches are experimenting with lineups. I know from talking to people with the Thunder, they had a lot of different things planned for how they were going to use Hartenstein in lineups as a solo big, in lineups with Chet Holmgren, in lineups with other bigs. Second, so now you don't get that, right? That's going to have to now start sometime in probably early December at this point. Now, the second part of this is we are in a position with the Thunder. Jalen Williams, the big one, Jay Will, he is out as well and has not been cleared. And then Kenrich Williams, who is by no means a 5, but played some small ball 5 for the Thunder in the past, he is also injured. Those two guys are supposed to get an update. Should be coming anytime now because it was ahead of the regular season. So sometime in the next 4 or 5 days here. But those guys may be out as well. So you're now talking Chet Holmgren, and that's kind of it, for bigs on this Thunder roster. So my guess is we are going to see something with the Thunder. They do have an open roster spot. I would not be surprised if they do sign somebody just to be in there. And they may do it as, we're going to do it as a non-guaranteed contract. That way we can waive them later. Because it's like a workaround for the fact that you can't sign 10-day deals until January. But they're in a rough spot right now without their with big man depth behind Chet Holmgren. And they don't want to run him into the ground playing 40 plus minutes a night in November and early December either.
Yeah, absolutely. They definitely don't want to do that. This team, their goal, their focus is going to be on an NBA championship, and rightfully so. This is a very, very talented team. I'm disappointed we don't get to see Hartenstein. I think they'll be okay. Maybe this lowers their ceiling a bit when we get to Monday in terms of win totals for OKC. Maybe there's a game or two that they lose that they would have won had they had Hartenstein, So that's maybe something to consider when we start looking at what their ceiling is as a group. But their biggest concern is going to be, do we have everybody in rhythm and healthy for the playoffs? Obviously, we're a long ways away, but I think they're going to be able to weather this storm.
Yeah, and I haven't looked. I'm going to pull it up right now. Like, I don't know what they've got in there. Like, do they have, like, sometimes teams end up
I'll take a look.
Okay, yeah. And, like, sometimes they end up with, like, they played Denver in their first game. So that's not great. Yeah, they played Denver twice in the first 2 weeks of the season, so they won't have him there. That's obviously a matchup where they assuming definitely wanted Hartenstein to help guard Jokic.
There we go.
Yeah, it looks like they're kind of okay outside of that.
Chicago, Atlanta, San Antonio.
Yeah, it's those games where you're missing them against Jokic, but there's a few drive heavy teams in there too, and teams are going to be playing around the rim where you would want him out there too, like New Orleans, Houston, those teams. So, not the end of the world. They'll be okay. They're not going to fall apart because they don't have them for the first month and a half or so of the season, but they'll be okay. Down the line, it's just might start off a little rougher than what we thought.
All right, let's jump over to the Jared McCain injury. Scary injury. I believe, is this a bruised lung?
It's a pulmonary contusion. I don't know what that is. That's Chris Haynes has been all over this since last night. I don't know what a pulmonary contusion is. I'm guessing that is a bruised lung of some sort. But yeah, that is scary. What was scary was if you saw it happen, he went down and then you could tell was struggling to breathe. And at first they were like, all right, maybe he just got the wind knocked out of him. That's what they thought. And then, but when the game ended, they were like, yeah, he's actually going to the hospital. It's like, oh man, what happened here? So hopefully he's okay. He's, a fun rookie guard. Basketball wise, it's not a huge impact for Philly. He's probably not going to be a big part of their rotation out of the gate. In his rookie year, they've got a bunch of other guards there, especially at the point guard spot. You've got obviously Tyrese Maxey's an all-star. He's awesome. And then you have Kyle Lowry behind him. Eric Gordon can even handle on-ball reps if you need them. So, and then Reggie Jackson is there too. So Jared McCain was probably going to be pretty far down on the depth chart, but let's all hope for the best and hope he recovers, well, and this is not an issue moving forward. But yeah, look, definitely a scary situation.
All right, let's go here. Notable NBA waivers. I saw a bunch of these today. So with the time that we've got left, let's talk a little bit about the waivers that we're seeing. And you said a week ago that this was going to happen right around now. A bunch of waivers were going to come through the NBA. Were there any that really stood out to you?
Yeah, if you I have a tweet if you can find it and pull it up on the screen. It's one of the funny things at this time of year is like guys that people love to respond with the Obi-Wan Kenobi meme where he's like, that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. From Star Wars. I know you're not a huge Star Wars guy. But they love that. So it's but people love coming back. So a guy like Henry Ellenson was with the Bucks.
I remember him
in camp. Yeah. Justice Winslow was there with the Bucks as well. Devontae Graham was with the Blazers. Those guys all got bounced. The ones I wanted to call out. So a couple on the list from today here. Right at the top there, Onuralp Biddum with the Chicago Bulls. I said this the other day on one of our shows that in conversations with people in Chicago, I was getting the feeling that Talon Horton-Tucker was going to make the Bulls roster out of camp. I think that's very likely to happen now. Yeah. Biddum was on a non-guaranteed contract, but was already on a standard deal. He's now been waived. That opens and paves the way for Talon Horton-Tucker to make the Bulls roster out of camp. Again, I said it on our show a couple of days ago. Another guard in Chicago, I don't know if you really need it, but man, who knows? In Boston, there's 3 guys on the list that got waived today: Ron Harper Jr., Jay Scrubb, and Hassan Ward. Who you don't see, Lonnie Walker IV has not been waived yet, so he's still maybe in the mix to make the Celtics opening night roster. We'll see how it works for players on an Exhibit 9 or 10 contract. If they make the roster for opening night, their contract converts into a non-guaranteed contract, so it just moves over to that. If they are Exhibit 10 guy who is two-way eligible, the team can then convert the player into a two-way contract. So we see some of those at the end of each season as well. But those were the ones I really kind of wanted to call out specifically because, those are some situations I know people were really interested in. I mean, Celtics Twitter is just in a civil war over if Lonnie Walker should make the roster or not. I'll say it here because I don't think I've talked about it on our show. I've said it on Twitter enough times. If I was running the Celtics and writing the checks, Lonnie Walker would be on the team. I do not run the Celtics and I do not write the checks. To keep Lonnie Walker, because of where the Celtics are with the luxury tax penalties, would cost them roughly $11 million for his veteran minimum salary, because they would get they will trigger a $4.25 per dollar spent charge for him if they keep him on the roster. So just there's a point where you kind of look around. This was a big part of the article I wrote for Spot Track this week about the NBA's vanishing 15th roster spot, where a lot of teams, especially these tax teams and the ones that are deep into the tax, are like, do we really need to pay $11 million for a guy who's probably our 15th man? What does that look like? So that's kind of where that is. So we'll see. With that, my guess is it's probably very much 50-50, on this. So,
well, best of luck for Lonnie Walker. I mean, a talented player, and I hope that he does make the team. But we'll see. Like you said, that's a lot of money to forget. Not quite as much as the legendary now amount of money that the Warriors forked over for Kelly Oubre. Back in there, like 80 million for Kelly Oubre. But nonetheless, Lonnie Walker, we'll see if he ends up making the roster or not. There's teams that still have, especially once we see teams finish their preseason schedule, we're going to see even more of these come through.
That's exactly what's happened over the last few days. They're done. So now it is usually what happens, finish preseason schedule. They'll give the guys a day or two off to kind of go, relax a little bit. And then it is, all right, now we're right into prep mode for the season. So it's going to be, we're going to prep with the guys who are going to be on the roster. We're not doing a lot of questions today, guys. That's tomorrow on the Friday, regular front office Friday show. But I do want to pull 2 just because I thought they were kind of interesting. So I'll pull this one. Can a team poach a player who's on an Exhibit 10 contract? Not directly, but when a player gets waived, you could claim them off waivers, bring them into your situation, and then if they're convertible to a two-way, convert them to a two-way, or you could then bring them onto your regular roster if you want to go that way. But you can't just say, hey, if the Knicks wanted Lonnie Walker to fill one of their 3 open spots, they can't be like, we're just taking him. They would have to wait for Boston to waive him in that
E10
process. So,
right.
Yep.
Now, if it was a player that's on the G League team, though, that's not on a two-way, different story.
Yep. Yeah. If you're just every player in the G League who is not assigned to the G League, meaning the team like sent them down, like a lot of rookies and younger guys, or a two-way player, those guys are all NBA free agents. Doesn't matter what your association with the team is. You can sign with a team if you want to. And then I just want to pull this one because this is an interesting question. Always Winning asks, how many games a week do y'all watch? Just curious. So I can speak for me. It changed a little bit because my process when I was covering the Celtics every day, last year was the first year I did not do that. I would watch every Celtics game live, obviously. Then I would watch it again in the morning because I wrote a column for Celtics blog after every game called 10 Takeaways, where I pull clips from the game and all that stuff. So I would rewatch for the things I might have missed live. And then on non-Celtics nights, I would watch other games. So now what's changed for me is I watch 2 games a night when I can. If there's the window where you can get in 2 live games, then I will regularly watch full games, but the condensed versions, meaning cut out all the stuff. Like you're really watching the 48 minutes of play. I'll usually watch 4 the next morning if I can. I'll pull up 4 of them. I get up very early. I have not been able to shake that even as I've changed into this. I am still up every day by 6 at the latest, just about. So I'll get up and then I'll usually try to watch 4 games the next morning. And when you watch those condensed games with the 48 minutes of play, you can fly right through them. And I said this the other day, I build myself a schedule so I know where I want to go. And then on nights, if it's like, all right, the game I chose to tune into is like a 30-point blowout, I'll let Twitter kind of direct me around to see, or I'll pick in and jump into the end of a close game. But on now nightly, like it's like, no one wants to watch basketball with me anymore because they're like, can you just stay with this for like 5 minutes? I'm like, why? What's a commercial? Why would I watch this? Let me flip to something that's live. And it drives my wife and daughter nuts.
So for me, and first of all, I think that's, 4 games in the morning. I don't, but you and I are complete opposites in terms of our sleep patterns. I don't have that much morning to work with because I'm up most nights till like 3 a.m. or whatever. I'm the night owl. But in terms of games, obviously I watch every Lakers game. I do the play-by-play for every Lakers game, and then we do a post-game show and all that kind of stuff. So every single Lakers game I watch, usually I'll go watch at least the highlights and get some key moments, dig back through the stats, things of that nature. You were writing an article specifically for that, which people ask me, like, what does it take to get into this business and stuff? Think about that. For every single Celtics game, you're committing 5-6 hours per game, easy.
Yeah,
in order to do what you're doing, which is not. Most people don't have the patience to go and do something like that. But for me, I do like to skip around, and I'll watch a lot of different teams each night, and I'll get a look at all of them. I'll have nights where I'm like, you know what, I need my brain needs to step away from basketball for a night, and so I won't watch something. I'll watch and just go through like the condensed replay, like you said, which is so helpful. I'll do that the next day. But I try to make sure that I've seen a little bit of every single team. I'm not as organized as you are, where I don't have a schedule per se, where I'm like, I'm watching this team these nights and that, but I'll try to jump around, and it'll be like, you know what? I haven't seen the Utah Jazz in a while. Let me go check in on them and see how they're doing. So I'll jump into a bunch of different teams that way. I can say though, I've not been as good about it this year in preseason because there's been conflicts with the Dodgers in the playoffs, and I've been watching a lot of playoff baseball. So
I'm in the same boat. If anybody's been looking,
your Yankees are playing earlier in the day.
Yeah.
The Dodgers are playing while NBA games are on. So
yeah, well, like last night, I did not watch much of the Celtics final preseason game because I was like, man, I had it on. I was second screening that, but I was watching. I watched Lonzo return. I had the Yankee game
I watched
on.
that.
Not that wasn't last night. 2 nights ago, I guess I had the Yankee game on. Last night they didn't play, but I had Lonzo. Oh, it's the WNBA finals. I was watching that too, which was unbelievable last night. What a shot by Sabrina Ionescu from the freaking logo to win it.
Amazing.
That was unreal. So, but yeah, it's that's just I have to be organized. It's just doing this with a full-time job forced me to be extremely cognizant of my time and be extremely organized with my time. And that is something that is thankfully carried over to as I've moved into this is all I do now is basketball. And that's been really nice to have that ability now to do more with this. Like this year I started building out a schedule because I'm doing a lot more with draft related stuff this year than I've ever done. So I'm really trying to be very planful and mindful of my day, which is why I'm extremely looking forward to the season starting, because then I can get right into my regular routine of this is how I'm going to manage. And I get a little fanatical about trying to like manage like my day. But part of that is then when something comes up and I have to step away unexpectedly, I'm not coming back into chaos. So at least I can fall back into where was I and just pick up my process or let things fall off as they need to with this. So
we've got a couple of good questions here. Can we save them for front office?
Yeah, let's save
Friday
them because we got stuff to run off and do. We'll just pull this one because that's a question, but thank you. We appreciate that. Thank you guys for hanging out with us here. Yeah. One of the questions that's up there. Yeah, we'll save it for front office show tomorrow. Controversial man, just know we saw your question.
I'll put it on the screen, but I have a fairly long answer on this, so I want to make sure that we spend some time on it. So I'm going to save this one, controversial man, and we'll start, or at least at some point, maybe we won't start, but at some point during tomorrow's live show, we'll address this.
Yep, absolutely. Guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us here impromptu because we had just weird days happening today. So we figured let's just jump in when, like Trevor said, when we go live, the show's immediately out there and posts, and we don't have to do a whole bunch of stuff on the back ends, which is nice, makes it easy on us. So thank you guys for hanging out with us here tonight. If you're new to this and just catching it because you're like, what is this show that popped up live? Every Friday, probably sometime afternoonish, we'll be going live to tomorrow, and then every Friday we do our front office Friday live show. We have a blast there. We have a lot of fun. It's your show, it's the fan show. Ask your questions, and that's what we spend time on. So we're super excited for that. So if you're new, subscribe, turn on your notifications. You'll get notified when we're going live tomorrow, and we'll see you all then. And if you're there early, you get to hear me yell.
That's right. Let's go. We'll see you tomorrow for Front Office Friday. Thank you again, everybody. See ya. And stay safe.